They talking all of this madness, talking all of this madness, talking all of this madness. They talking all of this madness, talking all of this madness, talking all of this madness. They talking all of this madness.
What's going on, everybody? You're watching, you're listening to the Matt Madness Network live on YouTube. I'm your host, Alo Aaron Lloyd. Clap it up, clap it up. Thank you. So, what's going on, guys? How's everybody tonight? So, let's get to it. So, what we got going on in this world? So, Fatal Influence got called up. So, shoot for that. I will get into that shortly. What else we got going on? We got if WWE ESPN partnership was for anything, it'll be this. We got Stephen A. Smith and Danhausen. We got Stephen A. and Danhausen beefing.
What?
Yes. One more time.
What?
Yes, Stephen A. and Danhausen are beefing. Also, what else we got going on? Oh, Eagles, excellent draft, by the way. Malachi Lemon, welcome to the Birds. And also, to all you haters saying my quarterback can't do anything, take that.
Shut your bitch ass up.
Thank you. Because Jeff Stoutland basically confirmed what we all know. There was a coaching problem, and then Boston Scott also doubled down on that. And that lined up with pretty much what everybody else was thinking who actually knows football. And if we have time, maybe I'll get to that. But I'm going to start with my week. I had a nice week. I had a day off today. Over the past week, I did watch a few things. And the first thing I watched, and what most wrestling fans watch, was the Hulk Hogan Real American documentary. So, as always with these documentaries, you know, there's not enough time for everything. Things are going to be avoided. Things are not going to be talked about. And this is essentially with everything. You know, the popular movie out right now is the Michael Jackson movie, and everybody's saying, oh, well, they left this out, they left this out. You can't put everything into any of these things, or these things movies will be 4 or 5 hours long. These documentaries will be 10 parts long, but they didn't get into everything. So from what we did get, I enjoyed the documentary a lot. I really thought it was good. I have not seen every single Hogan documentary. So his early stage and childhood and upbringing, that was in his early relationship with Linda, I thought was actually really good and really informative. I thought they glanced over things, but I thought it was good because I get to see the growth of Hulk Hogan. And being born in 1991, I was not born during the peak of Hulkamania. I was more around for the Hollywood Hogan era, but it was actually good to see it in where he actually got where his popularity was and how the popularity began to peak down. So I really did enjoy it. One of my favorite things about this was specifically everybody's favorite happy person, Bret Hart, didn't hold back. A lot of people didn't. Some people who despise Hogan didn't hold back. But one of my highlights of the documentary was when Hogan left and then saw Bret win the title. When Hogan saw Bret win the title, Hogan was like,
"No, brother, doesn't work for me."
It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me, brother. So he comes back. He comes back immediately. Comes up with this ridiculous plan to Vince about him getting the title back. If the internet was around back then, we would have destroyed this. It would have been one of the biggest, it would have been one of the biggest stories, one of the biggest talked about events in wrestling history in today's modern day. But really good documentary. It did hit on some of the peaks and lows during that era, especially during the NWO era. It hit on the lows when he tried to run for president and things like that. The steroid trial where he basically lied on Arsenio Hall. And everybody's like, well, why would you do that? You know, why would you do that at all? And also the things we know about him coming back as the red and yellow Hogan early on in his WCW run, and then he wanted to make that change. So they did touch on a lot of things as well. One of the things like it's talked about was the low part in the late 90s of his Hollywood Hogan run that they talked about that is usually glossed over. They touched on the Bash at the Beach, my 2000 scandal, one of my favorite car crashes, dumpster fires in life. If I'm ever down, I watch that at all times. And then it also touched on what kind of got me as a Hulkamaniac was his return in 2002. They covered the match with The Rock and how electrifying that match was. And in the post after that, Triple H basically said that Vince was in love with Hogan after that. And it pretty much became, and Hunter was like, no, Hunter and everybody was like, no, this is just a nostalgia pop. And one of my favorite moments in wrestling, I've talked about on this show a bunch of times, is when Hogan does come out on Triple H on that episode of SmackDown with the red and yellow for the first time in his return. So I did really enjoy watching that. It brought back goosebumps. It's resurfaced even on Instagram, my Instagram feed. I've seen it a few times this week with the correct audio of Voodoo Child, because we all know I love Voodoo Child. And I enjoyed it. And then it touches on 2003 for a second, but it does not talk about the Mr. America part of his career that was short-lived. Doesn't talk about that. It jumps to Hogan Knows Best in the reality show that he had with his family. And also they got to the Gawker stuff and talked about and also they went over his run in TNA. And one of the things they talked about also was the fact that when you're a character for so long, you start to believe you are that character. And he didn't know who Terry Bollea was anymore. He was always Hulk Hogan. And watching this documentary, it's pretty obvious what they don't talk about. And the person that don't talk about at all, sparingly, is Brooke Hogan, his daughter. Brooke Hogan, one thing I did love was the home videos that were shot. That's where you saw Brooke for the most part. You saw her in the home video shots. You saw her in the Hogan Knows Best clips, but that's about it. There's no testimonial for Brooke Hogan or anything like that, or even her TNA run or her music career. And Brooke Hogan, she has recently popped up on the media circuit about the documentary, discussing why she's not in it. She's also discussing why she was not in his will. Me and Angel, we've been watching Rock My Block, and Brooke Hogan is a contestant on Rock My Block. When I first saw her, I was saying to myself, like, what does she do to do at houses? And I told Angel that was Hulk Hogan's daughter, and she said, really? Like, she must be loaded. I'm like, no, she took herself out the will. It's a little bit of a long story, but she is topical at this moment in time. So Brooke Hogan, she did do an interview where she discussed where she was not involved in a documentary and some things that were missed. So we're going to sit down and react to what Brooke Hogan has to say. Fair use.
A better term, magic or hope or something that I held onto, thinking, I asked to be taken out of the will, and my dad did it. I think I imagined that there would be some sort of why, or, hey, you're the only person I trust, like, let's talk about it. But we had already talked about it. I mean, I was, again, looking through my text messages at things that I was texting him saying, and it's funny because in the text messages, I'm listing what he said to me about the people around him. And I'm like, you've told me this, 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 and this, Dad. I'm only watching out for you. And when I was pigeonholed, is what it felt like, and had to make this decision that I felt I had to at the time, I was so upset. And it was even more upsetting to see how quickly you could be erased and how much it was like, okay, cool, F you then. And it was almost like a tit for tat thing. And even when we were talking, there were tit for tat things. Like, I'd be like, Dad, in one of my texts, I said, Dad, Heather was a choice. Christiane was a choice. Like, you can make a new choice. Like, let's try to take this last part of your life and really do it right. Like, I'm here. Like, me and Steve moved down here. Let's do it. And it was like, well, I haven't been proud of your choices either. And I'm like,
it's not tit for tat, though.
I'm sorry, but I haven't done drugs, and I haven't effed your best friend. And what did I do wrong? I dated and decided when a guy was not right for me, I did the right thing and left, and ended up with a good guy. What did I do?
All right. So what Brooke's essentially saying here is oftentimes when somebody is trying to communicate with you, we're communicating with somebody and they're telling you the right things, they don't want the person that knows everything involved in documentaries like this. They just don't, because Brooke knows a little too much. She might divulge too much. She doesn't, or that information doesn't want to be out there, guys.
So, and then it's just to watch. I said this before. I was to watch people switch up is just so crazy to me. It's just so unbelievably mind-boggling crazy to me, because there are things that Nick has said to me that I said, Nick, that is not the right way to be thinking. That's not, that's what Linda put in your mind. That's not the right, and it was just a very, there were just a ton of people with not good, it was opportunists, I guess.
I think the people that we're talking about had a lot of influence on this documentary, almost may have wrote it, and they wrote you out. They completely wrote you out and your significance as being, his favorite child and Brooke Teeney.
If that was the case, I couldn't feel less like my father's daughter now. As sad as that is to say, I feel so not.
All right, so that was Brooke
loved at all.
I felt the same. I told you that privately. I felt the same way.
All right, so that was Brooke on the documentary. And for you guys wanting to know about the will situation, here is Brooke on Hogan's will.
I really took myself off the will because, number one, I was actually scared for myself, my family, my safety.
Who were you? Why would you be scared? I guess that's what people are asking. People, and forgive me, but people find it strange to hear you take it off, because most people immediately go to money, right? Let's be realistic. I would say most of America, when they heard you removed yourself from the will, they go, why? Why would she not want the money? And I know that was not the reason for you pulling your name. But everyone's just, I think they were having a hard time wrapping their brain around why you wouldn't want to be a part of it.
First of all, there's not enough money in the world that would matter with what I felt I was facing. There were just too many people that I had solid knowledge of not being good people around my dad. And I tried to tell him, and I felt that if I created any more waves, that I would be in danger. And that's the truth. There were
all right, so there it is, guys. Out of Brooke's mouth, her reasonings for being one to be left out the will, and that Hulk was not in with the best people. So I recommend everybody watching, if you're a wrestling fan, especially an 80s or mid to late, an 80s, 90s fan, or Hulkamaniac in general. I highly recommend everybody watching it. It was a very good documentary, but I said, of course, things are left out. You saw in the interview that there was other infidelities by Hogan and situations that were left out as well. But like I said, you can't have everything. They're not going to jump into everything in a 4 hour documentary. They're just not. But hope you guys enjoy. It is a very good documentary. So I hope everybody checks that out. So next up, so we had over the past week, we had releases in WWE. So WWE, they made their annual pretty much post-WrestleMania cuts, and on that list of WrestleMania cuts were Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, Kairi Sane, the entire Wyatt Six, Santos Escobar, Apollo Crews, Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, the Motor City Machine Guns, and NXT/development talent Andre Chase, Malik Blade, Tyra May Steele, I believe she won LFG, Serena Linton, Trill London, Tariq Igwe, Tyson DuPont, and Chris Island. And also during these releases, we had Sean Ross Sapp caught some heat. He caught some heat from Zelina Vega. So let's hear what Zelina Vega had to say about her release and from Sean Ross Sapp.
The fuck announced it. Could have at least given me the decency to like let me do it myself first, but fuck you, dude. Secondly, again, I really appreciate everybody's support, because whether it's been now or 2020, you guys have had my back. Biggest thing is like
all right, so that was Zelina Vega on her release, and her hoping that wishing that Sean Ross Sapp was the one who Sean Ross Sapp allowed her to announce her release. Now, as you guys know, if you've been with us for a long time, as wrestling fans, we get excited about, oh my God, Paige is back. Oh my God, this person's back, so on and so forth. But that means you still got to lose people. This is still a business. And it's the same thing as your favorite team. Like, if any of my friends or whatever, they know I can't stand Quez Watkins. Or like, as an Eagles fan, I cannot stand Quez Watkins because I think he cost them the Super Bowl against the Chiefs the first time. That's just my opinion. We can have that discussion at another time. But it's a business. You can't keep everybody. So that's how I see it. Somebody comes in, somebody has to go. Basketball, football, no matter what sport, there are cap casualties. It just happens. When it comes to wrestling, maybe because a lot of people don't view wrestling as much of a sport like the other sports, or major sport as the other ones. Maybe some people have more sympathy for them or feel differently. But when it comes to these releases, it's just a part of the business. Like, I hate to see a lot of these people go, because some of these people I did enjoy watching. But as always, if you enjoy watching them, you can follow them wherever they go. That's the fun part about wrestling. You can follow them wherever they go and really be a fan. You also have opportunities to meet them at cons, signings, unlike with regular sports. Now, when it comes to these releases, when I look at this list, I'm not quite surprised by a lot of them, because a lot of them were essentially people who weren't on TV or didn't really or weren't doing much at all in the last year or so. So I think the most glaring here might be Kairi Sane, because Kairi Sane was in a storyline with Asuka for the last 3 or 4, well, not even the past 3 or 4 months. I'll probably say maybe since the winter, about those two, and they never actually got a payoff. Now we got Asuka versus Io Sky going to be happening at Backlash next Saturday night, but Asuka and that whole Kairi Sane thing with Io and Asuka, that never really got a payoff with Kairi Sane actually involved. That might be the most glaring. Also, Aleister and Zelina, because we know that Aleister Black and Zelina, they were allegedly supposed to be the ones on that phone call with Randy Orton, and for them to possibly have been such an integral part of WrestleMania, to not be on the roster a month later is crazy. I personally like the pairing, but I think that Aleister Black's star kind of never got hit. I don't think he ever reached that height again in WWE. WWE didn't give him much to do on top of that, but I don't think his popularity or his peak was anywhere near to the level it was in 2019. And like I said, it could be WWE didn't always give him the best things to do. But the pairing with Zelina, I thought was great. I thought they looked good together. Of course, as a husband and wife duo, it always works, because the natural chemistry is always there. But it just didn't pan out. The Wyatt Six, for example, my opinion, after the first night it was done, I could have cared less. I really could have. It was a little too late for me, in my opinion. They were dealing with the MFTs for over the winter going in January. Could have cared less. MFTs, they've fallen off as well. The tag team division has been absolute trash in WWE for the longest time, and not quite shocked to see the Wyatt 6 go. You go down the rest of this list. We had Apollo Crews. He's somebody who survived cuts over the last few years because he hasn't really been doing much for the longest time. Zoe Stark still on the shelf. Alba Fire, I'm shocked because she was pretty much on TV every week with Chelsea Green and part of her Secret Harvest. The Motor City Machine Guns, that seemed more like a we got to keep you away from AEW thing. Me personally, they won the tag titles their first night, and they are one of the top tag teams in wrestling history. That's not an opinion. That's a fact because they really are. I would love to see them back in TNA, maybe run against the Hardys. But that one, not quite shocked to see. And in the developmental NXT ones, Andre Chase, since Chase U was shut down, really wasn't much for him to really do. And I did not watch LFG, so I'm not that familiar with Tyra May Steele. And like I said, this is just comes with the territory. It really does. Nothing we could do about it when it comes to these releases. But I wish everybody well. I think everybody's gonna land on their feet because they always do. There's plenty of places to work. There are fans out there of all of these people, and I'm looking forward to see what they should do. Aleister Black. There's tweets going around that nobody in AEW wants him back because he felt he was too good to take L's. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think Zelina is very talented. I think she could do great things, especially somewhere like an AEW or even TNA. I think Aleister Black and Zelina Vega should go to TNA. I think they would make a great duo in TNA. I really do, because TNA has been doing really good right now, putting on great television product. So I would like to see them there. We already know Kairi Sane is currently right back in Japan, according to reports. So that's it when it comes to WWE releases. Again, wish everybody well. Now, the thing that I was most excited about over the week was Fatal Influence. Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley, and Lainey Reid make their SmackDown debut. And as you guys know, I might be Jacy Jayne's biggest fan, and I'll let her talk about. I'll let you hear this first, because this is how I felt about Jacy Jayne when she would eventually get called up to the main roster.
Two years ago, 3 years ago, it wouldn't have ended well. I would have been gone by now. Everybody always loves to say that they're ready, and in reality, you're not ready. It takes time to develop. It takes time to get confident and know your craft. So I feel like now I'm ready. I know I can stand in the ring with anybody. I'm not intimidated. I can go with the best of them. So I'm ready. Whenever they decide I'm ready, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to take a spot, and all of them should agree.
All right. All right. So Jacy Jayne basically took the words out of my mouth. So that's how I felt. When Mandy Rose got released, I was like, all right, you could bring Toxic Attraction up now. Well, actually, while Mandy was still champion, it's like, all right, there's nothing left for Mandy to do there. You can bring them to the main roster as a unit, but then we all know what happened with Mandy. Her OF got big, and she got released immediately after that. And that left Jacy Jayne and Gigi in a bad position. It's like, all right, what do you do with Toxic Attraction? Because they were pretty much one of your biggest acts in NXT. So they were left scrambling or whatever. So instead of just trying to keep it going, they just ended it. You know, they ended it in February of the following year. And after that, Jacy Jayne, you know, she had her feud with Gigi. She did the stuff with Chase U. She aligned herself with Jasmine Nix. Then after that, Fallon. And after that, it was Fatal Influence was born. And the debut vignette for Fatal Influence, I thought was fantastic. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great group concept to have of, these two hard workers. They're not from NIL. They're not athletes. They're actually wrestlers, and they're recruiting somebody new. And I thought that was a great concept. I really do. And early on, it seemed like Fallon was going to be the face. Now, Fallon Henley, I think, is fantastic as well. I tell all three of these women every week on this string, every week. And with Fallon got the rub first. Fallon was the North American champion. She was in the forefront, but then slowly but surely, like, Jacy kind of got into the forefront. And also noted, I've been day one-ish on Jacy Jayne. I really have. I've been day one-ish from NXT when her debut. I was like, who is that? In Fatal Influence, she was a lesser-known person because Mandy Rhodes from the main roster. Everybody knew Gigi Dolan from being married to Darby Allin at the time as Priscilla Kelly on the Indies, but nobody knew who Jacy Jayne was. And immediately I said, who is that? That's it. She's the best one at that group. And she will be the star. And look who's left standing. It's Jacy Jayne. So back to my previous statement was Fallon got the rub first as North American champion. And with the North American Championship run, it was good. Fallon can go. Fallon has everything that Jacy has. Jacy just has the it factor, I think, in my opinion. So this previous year goes by. It's like, all right, Jacy's getting the rub. She could talk. Her in-ring is amazing. She sells better than any woman in NXT. And the concept of her in Fatal Influence was who's the new flavor of the week? Because we all know that NXT is essentially you get new people coming in, and it's like, all right, well, you're the new popular person. You're going to be the champion. Oh, you're the new popular person. We're going to put you in the forefront. But that's not how it was. But with Jacy Jayne, she would bring that up. And that was a great concept. The flavor of the week concept was big. And then she ends up being Stephanie Vaquer. I cut a video last year when that happened. It's almost a year to exact to the day. And Jacy Jayne's the NXT Women's Champion. I was so excited because I also talked about that I didn't think she would even get an NXT Women's Championship run because, like, I've always said this about Jacy is sometimes being too good is detrimental to you. The best worker doesn't always get the rub all the time. You got, like, for example, X-Pac, Dolph Ziggler, guys who can do everything, but don't get the opportunities. And I thought that she might fall under that. But the way she described her eventual main roster run at that time, interview was a few weeks ago, I think was pretty much spot on. I want them to handle her with gloves because last week on NXT, when she lost to Lola Vice, I was like, all right, that's it. The way they kind of wrote it off and ended the show was perfect because all Fatal Influence got taken out, and then we see the new crop of women after Lola Vice. And on SmackDown, when I knew they weren't on NXT the following week, I'm like, all right, they're going to be on SmackDown, all three, because I wanted Jacy to debut with Fallon and Lainey as well, because like I said, I want them to handle her properly. You can branch her off, but from what we got on SmackDown, we got stars. Stars are born. Lainey, Fallon, and Jacy, I thought they would have debuted challenging Paige and Brie for the tag titles, but they still interacted. They attacked Paige and Brie along with Charlotte and Alexa. And also, I wasn't watching SmackDown Live, but then I later found out that Fatal Influence interacted with Rhea Ripley. And when I tell you that those boos were music to my ears, they truly were, because I would not, if you asked me how good a debut can go, I wouldn't have said that. That was fantastic. The crowd, they threw everything at Jacy that they could. They threw the boos, the what chants, and she handled it perfectly. Fallon handled it perfectly. Lainey, a little rough on the promo, little Brie Bella-esque, but I know she can cut a promo. I know she could talk properly. It's her first time on the main roster. I'm not gonna hold that against her. But they made an impact, and then she put on a banger with Rhea Ripley. Let alone like you're coming out twice on your debut is a big deal. They came out, you interact with Charlotte, Alexa, and the tag team champions, and now you're interacting with the champion and putting on a banger. And now this week on SmackDown, she goes one-on-one with Charlotte. And we'll have to see what's going to happen on Friday. But at this point, I think the Charlotte match is going to end in DQ. I think it is. And at Backlash, there's already 3 Raw matches announced. And I think at Backlash, we're going to end up getting this.
A tag team match.
Yeah, so at Backlash, I think we're going to get Fatal Influence against Charlotte, Alexa, and Rhea in a tag match. The Uncle Teddy special. I think that's what's going to happen, player. And I think Fatal Influence gets the win. If I had to book Fatal Influence, I would have Fallon and Lainey win the tag titles from Paige and Brie. And then Jacy could continue to put on bangers, maybe win Money in the Bank down this year. But those 3, they are stars in the making. Jacy's, I think, will shine the brightest, but all 3 are stars, and there cannot be a better debut for a trio of women in WWE history. So again, salute to them. Next, also since we have Fatal Influence call up, we also have these call ups as well. And in the coming weeks, we're going to have Blake Monroe debut. Ricky Saints will debut on SmackDown on this Friday. So Ruka will sign her Raw contract on Monday. And we got Ethan Page and Joe Hendry the last 2 weeks of Raw. And something I've talked about on a consistent basis is the time is now. The future is now. This is probably the biggest roster overhaul for WWE in 10 years. I'm not sure if you guys remember in 2016 where we got Charlotte and Sasha and Becky came up in the summer of 2015. But after that, in 2016, before when they were about to restart the brand split, they were basically hammering the new era. That's when we got Alexa. I talked about Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky. We got Alexa. We got Finn and things like that, and people like that coming in, and that's what's deemed the new era. This right now is the new era. This is it, because the future is now. Slowly, a lot of these older guys that we have for the last 10, 15 years, they're fading out, and everybody that is coming up to the main roster now have star potential. I think Blake Monroe immediately can be facing Tiffany Stratton because they said she's coming soon. So you could put this off until after Backlash, and Blake Monroe versus Tiffany Stratton. That might be a WrestleMania match, but I could see that being a first match because Blake Monroe could come for the WS title. Ethan Page, I think, should be the Intercontinental Champion next. He made his vow for Rusev as the match against Penta, I believe, on Monday Night on Raw. But Ethan Page should be the next Intercontinental Champion. His North American Championship reign was one of my favorite things to watch on television. Not his NXT Championship reign, but his North American Championship reign, I thought was fantastic. I would definitely agree with putting the IC title on him right away. Joe Hendry debuted against Division. Not the biggest Joe Hendry guy at the moment, but I think he has a big future. Ricky Saints, we'll see what happens with him on SmackDown. And we all know Sol Ruka is a flat-out star. Flat out. She showed out against Liv Morgan the night after WrestleMania, and she is going to be a star for the foreseeable future. She really is. So this is the biggest crop of new talent and new faces of the company that we've gotten in 10 years. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about all these call-ups, including Fatal Influence. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for thinking that all these are star potential? Blake Monroe could have been on the main roster when she debuted last year in the summer, but she chose to take her. She chose to go to NXT and earn her stripes, and she talked about that in an interview previously about how she chose to be in NXT. But this shows that WWE is in the right hands, and WWE has needed a facelift, and these faces, including with Fatal Influence, who I just previously talked about, will give WWE that facelift. So shout out to them, and I can't wait to see what they actually do. WWE has become must-see TV because of these new faces, and I cannot wait to see what they do. Next up, Trouble in the Judgment Day again. So we had Roxanne and Liv Morgan. They revisit the conversation they had previously before they were attacked by Stephanie Vaquer. Also, early in the night, Stephanie Vaquer, Roxy, and Raquel took out Stephanie Vaquer, and Stephanie Vaquer is dealing with a legit shoulder injury, so she'll be written off television. And Liv and Roxy, they have that conversation about, look, you're in the Judgment Day. I know Finn brought you here, but you're a part of the family now. And Finn sneaks into the clubhouse and says that you can't trust them. And Roxy says, I'm a part of the Judgment Day. And Liv, she also helps Roxy and Raquel win their tag team match against Bayley and Lyra. So this is going where me and Eric talked about this going. The thing hanging over this is Roxy's allegiance. Because also, like I said, Finn brought her into the Judgment Day. Liv's injury kind of put a foil into the way things could have went. And I always say sometimes an injury is good. And in this case, it works again. That injury works out and benefits the storyline. Because now we get the story of, all right, what's going to happen with Roxy? Liv helped Roxy. Is Roxy's allegiance going to stand with Liv? Because it's like, look, she's helping me. She's getting me victories. But Finn's like, you know what, Roxy, you still can't trust him. Don't let those wins go to your head. This is a really intriguing thing to go on, because with Stephanie out, Finn's going to need some assistance from a woman, because you have to assume that he'll be facing Dom over the summer. And I think this is also a good spot for Roxy to potentially win Money in the Bank, even though Money in the Bank is further out this year, not in June like it typically is. But again, the Judgment Day, so many layers, so many stories, so many ways to go. And this Roxy thing with Finn is also another way to go. And I can't wait to see what they actually do with this, because Judgment Day, Liv Morgan, Dom, they've been fantastic. They really have. Glad to see the Women's World Championship is in the right place with Liv Morgan. So we'll have to see what happens with that. All right. So the last thing I have for you guys is, so Jacob Fatu, he attacks Roman Reigns with the Tongan Death Grip, and Roman, after he's revived, he accepts Jacob Fatu's challenge for the Heavyweight Championship of the world at Backlash. So it is official. That will be the main event of Backlash. And one thing I did like was the promo with, the segment with Roman and the Usos, and it was kind of like you got the two devils over your shoulder. One's positive, one's negative. One saying, "Look, give him a chance." And one saying, "No, he's crazy. Do not give him a chance." And Roman Reigns will soon find out himself about that. And I'm looking forward to the match, because last week I discussed about the future. Jacob Fatu is a part of that future of WWE. The first time we saw Jacob Fatu on a WWE screen last year, we were like, okay, this guy's over. This guy's going to be a player. And I talked about that line of guys that Roman's going to interact with going into the summer, where I think he will be defeated by Obafemi at SummerSlam. We talked about it might be he'll interact with Carmelo Hayes. He'll interact with Gunther. He'll interact with He is going to interact with Jacob Fatu. He's going to have all these interactions. Oh, Braun Breaker as well. I think he'll have interaction with. He's going to have interaction with all these guys, all these future players to get them ready. He even said in one of the segments, I took almost 2 years off and nobody took charge of this place. And that is what this title run is about. Somebody else coming in and taking charge. Jacob Fatu is the first person in line. Is going to end with Obafemi, in my opinion, at SummerSlam. But this is the beginning of the summer of reigns. And he's going to he's going to take his talents against these younger talents and put the company in a better place. Because all these guys are going to get the big rub of being in the ring with Roman Reigns. And I think a lot of these guys we will actually view in a different light once we see them in the ring with the tribal chief. I really do.
Acknowledge me.
Yeah, so as far as the WWE product, that is it for this week. I talked about this at the top of the show, which is hysterical to me. Stephen A. and Danhausen. This was, like I said earlier in the top of the show, in the intro, this is what WWE ESPN needs to be. So here is Danhausen cursing Stephen A. Smith at WrestleMania week on First Take.
Luck charm.
No!
Stand by me.
Hey, I'm a good luck charm.
Why are you up here?
Why am I up here? Well, I heard that you're a big New York Knicks fan.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I could curse their enemies. However, you've been very, very, very rude to Danhausen. So, unfortunately, you are cursed. Stephen A. Smith.
Me?
Yeah, you.
What'd you say?
All right, so now this is this is Stephen A. Smith. This is Stephen A. Smith after the Knicks go down 2-1 to the Atlanta Hawks.
Don't get caught up in that superstitious nonsense. I don't give a damn about Danhausen. I don't give a damn about his cuss. I don't care, whatever. If you're the New York Knicks, handle your damn business. You understand what I'm saying? Otherwise, I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot more cussing than Danhausen was.
Against the Atlanta Hawks, Mikal Bridges is scoreless. I'm looking at a bunch of zeros, a bunch of donuts all over the place. Let's look at it, okay? Game 3, all right? 4 turnovers, 3 shot attempts, 2 assists, 1 rebound, no free throws, no points, no steals, no blocks. You ain't supposed to be losing a game like this. This is ridiculous. The fact of the matter is the New York Knicks are a disappointment. The bottom line is they don't look anything like a championship team. They are on the verge of losing in the first round.
You.
All right, so that was great. That is what WWE ESPN needs to be. Stuff like that. That was fun. You guys can't knock this. That's not fun. So let me know your thoughts on that kind of stuff with the WWE ESPN partnership. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully the Knicks advance to the second round. They do meet the Hawks, I believe, tomorrow. As a Knicks fan, as my second team, I hope they take care of the Hawks. I hope that curse is lifted. So I hope Danhausen has some kind of sympathy for us Knicks fans out there. So that's it for the show, guys. Subscribe on all podcast platforms. Subscribe, like, comment, and turn your post notifications, anything for the algorithm. I'm Alo Aaron Lloyd, and I will see you guys soon.
Got him now, put him down right now, hit him with the palm handle. Tuning up the band, y'all don't understand. Fist of Superman, it's a SummerSlam. Here we go again. Fans marking man, I hate my balls. Shut the Vince McMahon, it ain't safe to land off the cell. Fans love it, ain't hard to tell. Talking madness, awesome. Well, what I'm cooking, man, y'all off the smell.